The time for convening has arrived. The Senate will come to order. At this time, I'll ask all unauthorized personnel to exit the chamber. I recognize the senator from the 28th. Speak to the journal.
Good morning, Mr. President. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Looking forward to a great week of service to the great state of Georgia. Speaking of service, we got a great lineup of pages today. Coming in, we've got Gavin Young, Gabriel White, Guinevere White, and Guinevere is a Page alumni. She actually served in 2020 pre-COVID, so she is probably one of the very few that served pre-COVID and post-COVID. We have Winsley Boyd, David Horton, Noah Tyndall, Claire Collins, Henry Cooper, Katie Hudgens, Tehran Olive, Caleb Mateen, and our very own senator from the 42nd Son, Brooks Brizendine, and Drew Peter Jackson. So Pages, thank y'all for your service today. Look forward to working with you. Y'all give them a big hand. Mr. President, little side note for you. On this day in 1907, Governor Ellis Arnold was born in none other than Noonan, Georgia. And many of y'all may remember Ellis Arnold as the one of the three governors we had at one time, coined the phrase usurper and pretender. But he was elected to the legislature at age 25 and attorney general at age 31, and then became the 69th governor of the state of Georgia. Mr. President, I do want to wish you a happy Extraterrestrial Abductions Day, a happy International Day of Happiness. It's International Earth Day. It's National Ravioli Day, World Frog Day, and World Storytelling Day. Mr. President, the journal has been read and found to be correct.
Thank you, Senator. Always interesting what you're going to come up with for the journal of the day here. So, is there objection to dispensing of the reading of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none. The journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. Senator from the 28th. What purpose you rise?
Mr. President, I move that SR 334 be recommitted to the Committee on Rules.
Secretary, read the caption.
Mr. President, pursuant to Senate Rule 10-1.3, Senate Resolution 334, a resolution changing the rules of the Senate is made in order for consideration by the Senate. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Okay. Senator has moved that SR 334 be recommitted to the Committee on Rules. Is there objection? Without objection, the resolution is moved. First reading and references of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 309 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a homestead exemption from City of Hampton ad valorem taxes for municipal purposes in an amount equal to the
State and
amount.
local government.
Senate Bill 310 by Senator Rett of the 33rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act creating a new charter for the City of Powder Springs, as amended, so as to adopt by reference a certain map to update the boundaries of the city to provide for related matters.
State and local government.
Senate Resolution 347 by Senator Moore of the 53rd, a resolution honoring the life of Mr. Sean P. Kornacki and dedicating an intersection in his memory and for other purposes.
Transportation.
Senate Resolution 352 by Senator Halpern of the 39th and others, a resolution commending Atlanta Public Schools upon its 150th. That completes the order, Mr. President.
First reading references the House bills and resolutions.
House Bill 597 by Representative Bentley of the 150th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a new charter
State
for
and
the
local
city.
government.
House Bill 666 by Representative Jenkins of the 136th, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a new charter for the town of Lone Oak.
State and local government.
House Bill 695 by Representative Camp of the 135th, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a new charter for the city of Thomaston to provide for related matters
State
to
and local
repeal.
government.
House Bill 702 by Representative Westbrook of the 163rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act governing the school system of the city of Savannah and Chatham County, approved March 21st.
State and local government.
House Bill 703 by Representative Westbrook of the 163rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act amending the several acts relating
State and
to and
local
incorporating. House Bill 708 by Representative Chastain of the 7th, a bill to be entitled an act to authorize the governing authority
State
of
and
the city
local
of.
government.
House Bill 709 by Representative Washburn of the 144th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a
State
new
and local
charter.
government.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary will read report of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Children and Families has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 291 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd District Chairman. Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 128 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Beach of the 21st District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 237 do pass by substitute. House Bill 353 do pass by substitute. House Bill 514 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Beach of the 21st District Chairman. Senate Committee on Higher Education has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 607 do pass. House Bill 228 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hickman of the 4th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 126 do pass by substitute. House Bill 204 do pass by substitute. House Bill 220 do pass. House Bill 227 do pass by substitute. House Bill 243 do pass by substitute. House Bill 298 do pass. House Bill 302 do pass. House Bill 543 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 557 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 498 do pass. House Bill 406 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Cowser of the 46th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on SLOGO has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 511 do pass. House Bill 601 do pass. House Bill 676 do pass. House Bill 680 do pass. House Bill 681 do pass. House Bill 682 do pass. House Bill 683 do pass. House Bill 685 do pass. House Bill 686 do pass. House Bill 688 do pass. House Bill 689 do pass. House Bill 690 do pass. House Bill 691 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Again of the 47th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary will read bills and resolutions for the second time.
House Bill 43 by Representative Lim of the 98th and others, Council on American Indian Concerns revised membership. House Bill 82 by Representative Jackson of the 128th and others, income tax limit eligibility for rural physician tax credit to physicians who qualify on or before December 31st, 2023. House Bill 119 by Representative Corbett of the 174th and others, uniform rules of the road, procedure for passing stationary vehicles provide. House Bill 126 by Representative Smith of the 18th and others, appeal in error, judgments deemed directly appealable, change of provision. House Bill 128 by Representative Hong of the 103rd and others, revenue and taxation, representative minority business enterprises, women and veteran-owned businesses, and procurement of state contracts provide. House Bill 130 by Representative Gamble of the 15th and others, Georgia Student Finance Authority, student loan repayment for peace officers provide. House Bill 163 by Representative McDonald of the 26th and others, Georgia Board of Healthcare Workforce, student loan repayment for medical examiners employed by the Division of Forensic Sciences of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation provide. House Bill 167 by Representative Momtahan of the 17th and others, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Standards for Issuance of Limited Driver Permits for Certain Offenders Provide. House Bill 185 by Representative Gaines of the 120th and others, Education Provide for Hope Inclusive Post-Secondary Education Grants. House Bill 204 by Representative Yurta of the 152nd and others, Georgia Municipal Courts Clerks Council create. House Bill 220 by Representative Leverett of the 123rd and others, Property, Means of Enforcement of Condominium and Property Owners Association Instruments, Rules, and Regulations Provide. House Bill 221 by Representative Lumsden of the 12th and others, Insurance, Filing Review Process for Private Passenger Motor Vehicle Liability Coverage, providing the minimum limits offered by the carrier were revised. House Bill 222 by Representative Lumsden of the 12th and others, Insurance, Department of, Clarify, Streamline, and Make Transparent the Practices of the Department. House Bill 227 by Representative Leverett of the 123rd and others, Crimes and Offenses, Offense of Criminal Interference with Critical Infrastructure Provide. House Bill 228 by Representative Dempsey of the 13th and others, Education Tuition Equalization Grants at Private Colleges and Universities to expand definition of approved school. House Bill 230 by Representative Newton of the 127th and others, Revenue and Taxation, Qualified Consolidated Government Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax Provide. House Bill 237 by Representative Hagan of the 156th and other state government Southeast Georgia Soapbox Derby as official soapbox derby of the state of Georgia designate. House Bill 243 by Representative Smith of the 70th and others, Coweta Judicial Circuit Superior Court provide 8th judge. House Bill 244 by Representative Petrie of the 166th and others, Board of Natural Resources effective date of certain rules and regulations extend. House Bill 254 by Representative Jenkins of the 136th and others, Civil Practices alternate procedure for designation of official legal organ provide. House Bill 264 by Representative Smith of the 138th and others, Revenue and Taxation, Handling of Appeals of Property Tax Assessments, revive certain deadlines and procedures. House Bill 273 by Representative Deloach of the 167th and others, Board of Natural Resources, extend date by which rules and regulations must be in effect for purposes of establishing criminal violations. House Bill 279 by Representative Gamble of the 15th and others, Insurance, Discount for property owners who build a new property that better resists tornado, hurricane, or other catastrophic windstorm events provide. House Bill 291 by Representative Scoggins of the 14th and others, Guardian and Ward, add to the list of providers who are authorized to participate in the processes for appointment of a guardian for an adult. House Bill 294 by Representative Deloach of the 164th and 67th and others, Insurance, Administration of certain rehabilitation policies by a seating insurer placed into liquidation provisions. House Bill 298 by Representative Daniel of the 117th and others, Courts and exemption of or deferment from jury service for natural or adoptive mothers of children 6 months of age or older provide. House Bill 302 by Representative Franklin of the 160th and others, Crimes and Offenses, issuance of a temporary or permanent protective order by the court provide. House Bill 308 by Representative Newton of the 127th and others, Revenue and Taxation, certain medical preceptor rotations, revised tax credit. House Bill 353 by Representative Powell of the 33rd and others, Georgia Lottery for Education Act, administrative procedures regarding coin-operated amusement machines shall be subject to Chapter 13 of Title 50 provide. House Bill 383 by Representative Reeves of the 99th and others, Safer Hospitals Act enact. House Bill 396 by Representative Vance of the 133rd and others, Oconee River Greenway Authority add President of Georgia College and State University. House Bill 406 by Representative Jaspers of the 11th and others, Georgia Public Service Commission, regulation of the provision of certain electricity used as a motor vehicle and electric vehicles provide. House Bill 408 by Representative Williamson of the 112th and others, sales and use tax, exemption for competitive projects of regional significance, change sunset provision. House Bill 412 by Representative Williamson of the 112th and others, income tax, repeal a limitation on types of partnerships that may elect to pay income tax at the entity level. House Bill 416 by Representative Silcox of the 53rd and others, pharmacies authorize qualified pharmacy technicians to administer certain vaccines. House Bill 431 by Representative Drunner of the 85th and others, special purpose local option sales tax counties provisions. House Bill 436 by Representative Corbett of the 174th and others, surface mining, revised maximum criminal penalties for violations. House Bill 437 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st and others, Georgia State Indemnification Commission, abolish and authorize Commissioner of Administrative Services to assume duties provisions. House Bill 453 by Representative Hilton of the 48th and others, health ambulance services pay an annual license fee repeal requirement. House Bill 480 by Representative Franklin of the 160th and others, workers' compensation benefits change certain provisions. House Bill 498 by Representative Mathis of the 149th and others, funeral directors and embalmers, reinstatement of lapsed license, change certain provisions. House Bill 514 by Representative Washburn of the 144th and others, Housing Regulation Transparency Act and Act. House Bill 528 by Representative Gaines of the 120th and others, Georgia Online Automatic Renewal Transparency Act and Act. House Bill 543 by Representative Reeves of the 99th and others, Courts, six-person jury trials and civil actions revised and exception. House Bill 557 by Representative Stevens of the 164th and others, Professions and Businesses Authority to certain nurses and physician assistants to prescribe Schedule II controlled substances authorized. House Bill 571 by Representative Silcox of the 53rd and others, Georgia Alzheimer's and Related Dementia State Plan, updated every 4 years provide. House Bill 572 by Representative Reeves of the 99th and others, elections renamed Georgia Government Transparency and Campaign Finance Commission as the State Ethics Commission. House Bill 607 by Representative Perkel of the 169th and others, education revised definition of Zell Miller Scholarship Scholar by changing ACT score requirement for certain students. House Bill 611 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, a budgetary and financial affairs disposition of state funds derived from certain legal judgments or settlements provide. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Senator from the 21st.
Yes, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 27th for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 27th is excused. Any other motions to excuse? What about my senator from the 33rd? Nobody? All right. Secretary will call the roll. Senator, signify your presence by voting the yay switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. Senator from the 4th, what purpose you rise?
Mr. President, I'd like to excuse Senator from the 20th, please.
Okay. Without objection, the senator from the 20th will be excused. Yeah, you got your pen? It is now time for the morning devotion. All senators, please take your seats and cease all conversation. I would ask the doorkeepers to secure the chamber at this time. I would like to introduce my good friend from the 53rd District and the purpose of leading our Pledge of Allegiance and introducing our chaplain of the day. Senator?
All right, let's stand and pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now to the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag for the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, and courage. Hey, good morning, everyone. We've got somebody really special here today, Pastor of the Day, Pastor Eddie Cantrell. Lobbyists outside in the hallways, they're always expected to know our names, but we don't always know their names. And this is true for Pastor Eddie Cantrell. I've known him my entire life, but I don't think he's known me my entire life. I can remember going to his church when I was a little kid, being asked to go to the children's services and saying, no, I want to stay in the main congregation. But Pastor Eddie Cantrell, he's been a pastor at Trenton First Baptist. I don't think it's the biggest church in town. It may be the biggest church in town, I'm not sure. But he's also the pastor for the high school basketball team and has been my entire life. He's the pastor for the Southeastern Lineman Training School. He's also a good community servant when it comes to government. He serves on the Water Authority, so definitely an influential and great person to know in Trenton, Georgia. Pleased to introduce him to you, Pastor Eddie Cantrell.
Thank you, Colton. Thank you, Mr. President, for that introduction. Thank you for being here and allowing me a little time to share with you. I don't travel to Atlanta much during the rush hour, but when I do, I always come to certain conclusions. Let me give those to you really quick. There are 4 groups of idiots out there. Those who drive too slow, those who drive too fast, those with those wacky coexist Mother Earth bumper stickers, and those people in those jacked up trucks with some bumper sticker about the Second Amendment. Now, I know I've hit some of you, sorry about that. And what I've come to conclude is that I am the only perfect driver out there. And that if everyone was just like me, our roads would be safe, no problems, no issues. And I'm reminded that I am the only perfect driver out there until that state employee with the lights on his or her car pulls in behind me and reminds me that I'm not. Of course, I'm being somewhat sarcastic, but I'm also sharing a truth that goes through most of our minds. The thinking that if you don't agree with me, act like me, look like me, something must be wrong with you. The feeling that I'm right and everyone else is wrong, and from what we can hear, it seems like that is taking over our communities, our churches, and our governments. If you're not just like me, I'm going to find some reason to dislike you. I'm going to find a way to make you look bad. I'm going to find a way to put you down. And I'm going to do all I can do to make myself look better at your expense. The first time I was at this podium 2 years ago, I never dreamed I would get invited back. But I did some homework on you folks before I came down. I read all of your bios. I read all I could find about you. I even read a book that one of you wrote. I did the same thing for today's message. I didn't read the book and the bio again. But I've come to the same conclusion that I came to 2 years ago. You're some of the finest men and women in the state. Successful people who sacrifice time, family, and privacy just to serve us. You come from different backgrounds, different walks of life, different experiences, and so you have developed your ideas and your philosophies based upon those backgrounds. But I believe with all of my heart you care about your district, you care about our state, and your whole idea is to make life better for all of us. You may have a coexist bumper sticker on your car. You may have a "you'll take my gun from my cold dead fingers" bumper sticker on your car. You may drive too fast. You may drive too slow. I don't know. But I think you're coming together in an effort to make Georgia a better place. I read of doctors and lawyers and military members and parole officers and immigrants, social workers, public school teachers, contractors, airline workers. What a privilege it is to have a few minutes before you today. You're giving your time and your lives to serve people like me and the people of our state. Forgive me, let me take a moment. I'm going to give you a standing ovation. Thank you very much. This morning, I want to remind you that you're on a great journey, and you're journeying with those in this room. people just like you who decided to serve, who want to take our state in a better place, you know, kind of like the traffic coming down here, right? I'm sure that there are times you think somebody sitting next to you might be an idiot. I hope you never say it and just keep it to yourself, but I don't know. But this morning I made the same journey coming down here, like I always have, but I decided to do something a little unusual. I decided to get along with those people around me, you know, those different people. I decided that I would leave in an attitude in which I would thank God for the journey, that I would pray for those people who passed me and those people who slowed me down, for those people who got on my bumper and tried to irritate me, and that I would pray that they would be safe and get to their final destination. You know, it must have worked. I don't mean to brag, but I was here an hour early and traffic was great. I can't believe that. Men and women, you're taking our state on a journey, and every day you have a decision to make. You can be mean, hateful, angry, mad. You can treat people around you poorly. You can talk about people, or you can pray for each other. You can allow each other the freedom to cut in front of you every once in a while. You can realize that everybody is different, and you can try your best to arrive with kindness and gentleness and in peace with each other. And I think your direction will influence the way our state goes. I challenge you, like I did 2 years ago, to get to know each other better. I challenge you, rural senators, to ask the urban senators to come up to see what we look like. You know, in Trenton, Georgia, we get so mad at traffic because sometimes there's a line of 20 cars at a red light. It's unbelievable. Some of you have no clue what that's like, do you? You urban senators, I encourage you to invite some of the rural senators to your district. And maybe we might could see each other's needs just a little better. Take time to listen. Take time to care. Take time to get to know one another. And you know what? We will all discover that we're not a bunch of idiots. We're just different. In this chamber, I know there are different views about my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ. I respect all of those views. But I challenge you to read his book, learn about him, dig deeper to find out how we got our Bible, and you will discover it's the most reliable book we have. That Jesus came to earth to live like us, to walk like us, to help us. One of the most amazing accounts of Jesus in my mind is just hours before his arrest. He got out the wash basin and he washed the feet of those people who would betray him. And he would tell them that the world would know how much they love him by how much they love each other. Men and women, to be in the position you're in, to go through what you must go through, to be able to sit in that seat, you've got to love your district and your state. I challenge you to lead us in Georgia by the way you love each other. I challenge you to treat each other with respect and kindness and gentleness, especially when there's sharp disagreements. Learn to put yourself in the place of that person you disagree with. And show Georgia a group of people who truly love one another, and it's not about just a political party. Show Georgia what it means to agree to disagree agreeably. Be an example for us, because our kids and our grandkids desperately need it. Lead with love and lead with peace and kindness and gentleness and service to each other. In closing, I think we all need to ask ourselves, what can I do? So let me tell you what I can do. I can pray for you. I can pray that God blesses you. I can pray for peace in your lives. I can pray for success and prosperity in your families. I can pray for your good health. I can pray that you know God better and better as the days go forward. I can tell you that if there is any way I can help you, I would love to. And I've said this before from this very spot, but if you're buying me lunch, I'll come down. It's amazing how many hours a preacher will drive just for a free lunch. I will join you if you will invite me. I can't sit in your seat. I don't know how you feel, and I would probably get arrested if I tried to wash your feet. But I can reach out one person at a time and try to help and try to listen. I was thinking about this coming down here. Maybe when I get home, what I need to do is test drive an electronic Subaru and test drive a big old pickup truck so I can know how those people feel. I don't have either. Maybe I can just look at someone in the eye and try to help them in some way. May God bless you in the days to come. Thank you again, Senator Moore, Mr. President, for this opportunity, and thank you for being here to listen. Let's stand together for prayer. Father, may your peace be on this chamber. May you bless each and every one in this room. I'm so grateful for the men and the women here who have sacrificed their time to serve us. I pray that they would serve you first and foremost. I pray that you would keep their families safe. I pray that you would give them clear minds and pure hearts. And I pray that we would look to this building and the people of Georgia would be led by the examples we see here. We pray in the days to come that we would turn to you for our guidance and our strength. Allow us to open your word and listen to you and follow you. Use us for your honor and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Nobody ever does. Recognize the senator from the 39th for a point of personal privilege. Yeah, intercept. Hold on 1 second. Stay right there. It is always good to have our special guest down to the Capitol, and we've got a great group with us here today. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Resolution 180 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, a resolution commending and congratulating Rome Police Chief Denise Downer McKinney as Georgia's 2022-2023 Outstanding Police Chief of the Year and for other purposes. Whereas Rome Police Chief Denise Downer McKinney is highly regarded by the citizens of her community and state and by local government officials as a person of unquestioned integrity, humility, and dedication to the sound principles of law enforcement. And whereas in 2022, Chief Downer McKinney was the first female police chief to be named as the Outstanding Georgia Police Chief of the Year by the Georgia Associations of Chief of Police. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the care, courage, and selfless dedication exhibited by Rome Police Chief Denise Downer McKinney in carrying out the difficult duties of her vocation and congratulate her upon her recognition of Georgia's 2022-2023 Outstanding Police Chief of the Year. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It is my honor to introduce the senators from the 56th and the 54th for our special guest. But before that, is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. The resolution is adopted. It is now my honor to call on the senator from the 56th to speak to the special presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are honored today to bring up Chief Downer McKinney from Rome, Georgia, as the Police Chief of the Year. Each one of our districts has police departments throughout that are there serving us. These are our finest, the brave women and men who serve us in uniform each day. And I'd like to call on the senator from Rome to acknowledge his very own police chief. Senator.
Thank you. We're proud to have Denise Downer McKinney here today, the Rome Police Chief. She had to put up with one of my wife's brothers as a detective for many years, and now she's putting up with another of my wife's brothers as a city commissioner there. But she has been with the department in Rome since 1981, had moved up to captain and then major, and then 6 years ago became our police chief. And she's been through FBI training and many other areas. And I could go on about that, but I want to say that when trouble was happening in a lot of communities a couple of years ago and a couple of different times, they got together with the community and they talked, and we worked hard on working things out in a peaceful protest way without violence. And because of her work and others, Rome escaped things that were going on in other communities because of her hard work and dedication on meeting with the people and making sure that everyone understood where the boundaries were and what was out there. And so I think she's been great for this community. It is a slightly majority population in Rome. It's a tough job. There are a lot of differing people there, but we seem to have been able to work together by talking and get it all worked out, and it's a great community to be in, and proud to have her here, and if she'd say a couple of words for us.
Good morning, and thank you for this recognition. It is an honor to be here, and an honor also to be chosen as Georgia Chiefs of Police Chief of the Year. One of the things that I've strived for is to hire people, and for myself to always have a servant's heart. You have to have a heart to serve your public, serve your community, and serve the citizen. So I thank you for this honor, and I appreciate the recognition.
It is a pleasure to have our former Ag Commissioner with us here today, Mr. Gary Black. Always a pleasure to have he and his wife here today, and he has a special presentation that we'd like to recognize. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Resolution 209 by Senator Walker III of the 20th and others, a resolution recognizing and commending Gary W. Black on his outstanding public service and for other purposes. Whereas Gary W. Black has been long recognized by the citizens of this state for the vital role that he has played in leadership and his deep personal commitment to the welfare of the citizens of Georgia. And whereas as the 16th Commissioner of Agriculture for the state of Georgia, he implemented disaster relief efforts for Georgia farm families in the aftermath of Hurricane Michael, one of our nation's most devastating weather events. And whereas he further led the development of the nationally recognized Georgia Grown brand, opening opportunities for small business dreamers, expanding trade across the globe, and building bridges with culinary and school nutrition professionals. And whereas this distinguished gentleman has given inspiration to many through his high ideals, morals, and deep concern for his fellow citizens, and he possesses the vast wisdom which only comes through experience and the strength of character which is achieved through overcoming the many challenges of life. And whereas he is a person of magnanimous strengths and with an unimpeachable reputation for integrity, intelligence, fairness, and kindness. And whereas Gary W. Black has served with honor and distinction. His vision and unyielding commitment to excellence has set the standard for public service. And whereas it is abundantly fitting and proper that the outstanding accomplishments of this remarkable and distinguished Georgian be appropriately recognized, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize and commend Gary W. Black for his efficient, effective, unselfish, and dedicated public service to the state of Georgia and extend the most sincere best wishes for continued health and happiness. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objections to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. The resolution is adopted. I'd like to recognize my good senator from the 8th to introduce a special guest. Obviously, Gary Black served this state for a long time as agricultural chairman or commissioner, but also he worked for the commissioner's office for a long, long time. So we appreciate all his great service. Glad to be joined by our new commissioner, Tyler Harper, as well, and we've got all our ag guys up here on stage today. Senator from the 24th, the 8th, and our new senator from the 11th. But I'll yield the floor to the senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry that the senator from the 20th wasn't able to be here today, but I'm honored to get to present this to somebody that has had a huge influence on my life. You know, I was Gary Black's county chair in every election he ever ran in, and I can tell you I would not be standing here today talking to y'all without the influence that he's had on my life. And it's been said that the wealthiest people are those that invest in others. And if that's the case, then Gary Black is one of the wealthiest men in the state of Georgia. He is always the hard-working farmers of our state, the folks who live in rural Georgia, the folks with broke backs and busted knuckles that supply the food, fiber, and shelter that makes this state run. He's always had their back. He's always had the backs of rural Georgia, and he's always told the truth. And you know, no public servant does it alone. And I can tell you the wonderful woman that's standing behind me, Miss Lydia, she has been beside him throughout it all. And Miss Lydia, we thank you for sharing him with us. Hear, hear. I want to read something to you. It's not going to be a long speech, Senator. But this dates back to 2018 when Gary was up for re-election for Ag Commissioner, and I was his county chair. And I shared this on my social media. It's a picture that I cherish of JR, my son, and he's just a little boy at the time. He's now a freshman at Georgia, and Gary, and they're standing in front of the Ag Hill statue there in Athens. And I said, this is one of my favorite photos. I remember when JR was electrocuted and had to be life-flighted to Jacksonville. Gary called and checked on him every day. I remember when the Great Freeze was headed towards Blueberry Country, and Gary called in and prayed at the community prayer services for farmers at First Baptist of Homerville and Alma. I remember when a farmer's fish were floating in his pond and his cattle were drinking the water, and he couldn't get the water test back quickly, and Gary intervened to help. I remember when Clinch County beekeepers were having trouble getting their bees into California, and Gary intervened to aid in getting the bees across the border. I remember when we needed to get our message out to the folks in Washington concerning NAFTA's effects on blueberry farmers, and Gary organized a trip to meet with key policymakers in D.C. I remember when the government had a backlog on H-2A visas and farmers couldn't get their workers to pick their crops. Gary was relentless with calls to Congress and the Department of Labor. I could go on speaking of the tireless efforts Gary has undertaken on behalf of the farmers of Georgia. He deserves to be reelected. Georgia needs him, and I hope everyone gets out and helps him win by the largest percentage in Georgia history. He is most definitely a great American. He won that election, and friends, we all owe a debt of gratitude to a great man who has done great things for the farmers of this state and for rural Georgia. Please welcome my great friend, Gary Black.
Y'all, good morning. Thank you all. Mr. President, my good friend, the President Pro Tem, and my longtime good friend, the Secretary of this body, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it is a great honor for Lydia and I to be here today. I hope you'll also allow me the opportunity to celebrate, and Lord willing, April 30 will be the 40th anniversary of God's call on Lydia's life to rescue me. And so we will celebrate that here in not too distant future, but I'm so glad that she could join us, and for everything that I've been able to be a part of with all of you, it certainly is because of support at home and our partnership these 40 years. I am grateful last week for the call of the senator from the 20th. He's in my prayers today, and I know he'd rather be here, certainly, and we had a good conversation yesterday. But when he called, I was wondering if this was perhaps a session of the General Assembly where there had been too few recognitions and too few urgent resolutions, and perhaps he needed to fill some of the time and space. I doubt that that's the case. He assured me that this was sincere, and I'm very grateful for every member of this body. I'm thankful for the senator from the 20th and Senator distinguished chairman of the Senate Ag Committee, who has been a long-term friend, but there are many others of you. I'll do a quick roll call in just a moment, but I do want you to know that when I arrived here 33 years ago outside, I was able to be 12 years of being across the street and working with so many of you. But 33 years ago, I arrived to this body, working in this body with the names that many of you will remember. Some of you, very few were able to serve, but you certainly remember the dignity and the integrity of those. And those were the individuals that I had an opportunity to learn from. Those names like Gillis and Tysinger and Egan, certainly Starr, Bullock, and Hill, and many, many others who had an impact on my life. There's a former senator from the 18th who has another job down the street today. He's had several jobs, and I've been pleased to learn from him every step of the way. But I can remember one of the instances in this body when he was President Pro Tem. And this was before cell phones, folks, and that door opens and closes just like it does so many times, but particularly it's important during the latter days of the session. Mr. Secretary, it was a late time, and we were in one of those discussions where we had something in the budget that said may, and it had to say shall. And that was one of the early lessons I learned of the great difference in may and shall. I hung at the door for 20 minutes just to catch the presiding officer's eye because at his instruction, I'd gotten it fixed over on the other side. But so shall was where it needed to be, and I can remember those doors open and him standing right here, and I was able to do that, and he was able to do that, and we had some good progress for the ports of the state of Georgia. So my point is, folks, y'all, the Senate's been very important in my career, and every success we've had it together. But here's the thing. One of my mentors has always told me that all of us are better than any of us. And when I think of the senator from 47th, his dad was a mentor of mine. The senator from the 28th, but for his boss yelling at me on the 3rd floor in a phone booth years ago saying, "Are you going to do this?" Meaning run the very first time 18 years ago. I think of the senator from the majority leader who probably got the first call when I was going to run because it was my only cousin that called him. I think of those who stood with me, the senator from the 24th, the 8th, the 49th, the 17th, the 11th now. As a matter of fact, I've attended the senator from the 11th's wedding. There are others who contributed time and talent and treasure to my success, and it goes on. The senator certainly from the 4th, who was the accountant of my campaign chair. The senator from the 19th, whose wife worked on a campaign of mine. The senator from the 21st, who made sure I had an opportunity to come to North Fulton when nobody knew my name. Senator certainly from the 23rd, we've shared many constituents and times and supporters together. Senator from the 29th introduced me to the Fraternal Order of Police before he ever shook my hand personally. It just goes on and on. The senator from 36, I've always respected you, ma'am, and your prowess and your integrity, your intellect, and we've had a lot of good times because of Mitchell County roots. The senator from the 12th, we stood together to rescue our farmers during Hurricane Michael. And certainly the distinguished minority leader, the senator from the 55th, I've probably known her the second longest of anyone in this body and appreciated that friendship. But folks, I learned one other lesson in this building that I hope we can carry forward to all of you, particularly in these waning days of the legislature. I'm thankful that my commute now is 45 seconds. We've got a little opportunity now of helping some companies. I've got some folks that we're helping in marketing and advancing the economy in Georgia, and I'm really thankful for that. But I hope that you'll take one of those other first lessons that I learned in this building and put it to practice in these coming days. Because see, I learned it from another member of your colleagues over in the House, Richard Royal, when I stepped forward to a post-subcommittee meeting down in the basement. And that was when Chairman Royal, I had lost a vote in subcommittee. I was indignant. I could not believe the things that I was passionate about that members of the House did not agree with. I was very upset about it. That's when Chairman Royal, with his great compassion and deep interest in my personal opinion, looked up at me and said, "Boy, you better learn how to count. 3 beats 2 every day." I never forgot that message. And after that message, don't remember losing much in this building because we worked together. But here's the lesson moving forward, and I hope I can impart it to you, and I hope it'll a seed that'll take root in these coming days. The first is this: sometimes you are the 3, but sometimes you're the 2. But you know what? Before you get there, you better know which one you are. But always remember to be respectful, because there will be more votes. There will be more votes. I thank you, Mr. President. May God bless the great state senate of the state of Georgia and this blessed state that we all call home. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you.
We have with us today some special guests. The secretary will please read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 289 by Senator Tillery of the 19th and others, a resolution recognizing and commending Courtney Glanville and for other purposes. Whereas Courtney's efforts have been timely and beneficial to the Senate and the Senate Budget and Evaluation Office in its operations and decision-making with the annual appropriations process. For 20 years, Courtney has provided exemplary service to this legislative body. And whereas the Senate Budget and Evaluation Office appreciates all of the assistance Courtney has offered over the years to new and well-tenured staff in the use of systems or budgetary processes, as well as his efforts to ensure the portability of the budget system over emerging platforms. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize and commend Courtney Glanville for efficient, effective, unselfish, and dedicated public service to the state of Georgia and extend the most sincere best wishes for continued health and happiness. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'd like to call upon the distinguished senator from the 19th to introduce our very special guest.
Thank you, Mr. President, Ms. Pro Tem. It is my honor to present today Courtney Glanville. Courtney he was one of our startups when we started the Senate Budget and Evaluation Office 20 years ago. But more than an analyst, not that there's anything wrong with the analysts, we have our analyst teams in the back. But after we get to the numbers, Courtney is the man who actually wrote our Senate Budget and Evaluation computer program that allows us to double check against the governor's programs and the House's programs. At times we found inconsistencies. The joke about Courtney, though, is if Courtney goes down, we all go down, because Courtney is the only person who can fix the system. He is a dedicated worker. This today memorializes his 20th anniversary. Again, he was on the startup of our Senate budget team. And Courtney, we just want to tell you thank you for 20 years of service to the Senate Budget Office. If you guys would, please just give him a round of applause. And a standing ovation. Courtney, you deserve it. He is a dedicated worker. The only time he is at our office when we're there till 11 o'clock at night, he stays there with us, keeping the system going, unless it's Wednesday and he's at church. That's the only time he asks for a break. He has with him a couple of other guests. His brother, the Chief Judge of the Fulton County Superior Court, Judge Uriel Glanville, and his sister, Dr. Denise Glanville, along with his niece, Isabel. And Courtney, because of this day, we'd like to give you a few moments to say a few words if you'd like to do so.
I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to work for the Senate Budget Office these past 20 years. I'd like to thank the chairman for his encouragement and support for the past few years, as well as I'd like to thank my family for being here with me this morning. They had to readjust their schedule to be here, and I'm thankful for them. And I'd like to thank my best friend, my dearest friend, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who redeemed me from my sins when he suffered and shed his blood on Calvary. Without him, I would not be here standing before you today. It's without a doubt, I've fumbled, I've failed, I've made a lot of missteps, but he's always been there to pick me up and set me back on the way. He's always been there for me. He's been closer than a brother. He's never forsaken me or left me, and I just want to say thank you to him as well. So thank you for this recognition.
Senator from the 42nd. Let me recognize the senator from the 42nd to introduce our Doctor of the Day.
Okay. Mic is hot. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. It is my honor to introduce Dr. Kathy Bonk. She is a private practice OBGYN physician in Decatur with over 30 years of experience. She's the managing partner of her OBGYN midwifery group, Atlanta Gynecology and Obstetrics. Dr. Bonk has been named by her peers as an Atlanta top doc for 10 years in a row. She is a member of the Board of Directors of Emory Healthcare and the DeKalb Regional Health System. Her other accomplishments include being the past president of the Georgia OBGYN Society and current Georgia section chair for Atlanta College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. She is a proud graduate of Leadership DeKalb, class of 2017. Please join me in thanking and welcoming Dr. Kathy Bonk.
Thanks, thanks, Senator Barrett. It's my honor to be here today to, in some small way, help care for you who care for me, my patients, and their families. I have the opportunity to help bring new Georgians into the world as I did at 1 a.m. yesterday. And I want to thank you for making the Georgia that they are born into a healthy and safe place for them to grow and thrive. I know some of you might be worried that a gynecologist is manning the clinic down there, but do not worry, I have an ER doc and an internal medicine doc on call on my cell phone, ready to answer any questions. And this really did happen. I looked in my medicine closet on Friday to see if I could bring any samples to stock the clinic, and there was nothing in my gynecology medicine clinic closet except hemorrhoid medicine. But having spent 30 seconds in this room, I can see that none of you need hemorrhoid medicine, and the session will end quickly. Nobody sits very long, so thank you for this opportunity.
Are there any unanimous consents? Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Chair recognizes the senator from the 50th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today just to bring your attention to the packets that I put on your desk. April is Prevent Child Abuse Month in Georgia, and I have with me a proclamation from Governor Kemp, and I have some members in the audience that I'd like to recognize after I read this. Children are our most valuable resource, and they are also our most vulnerable. All of Georgia's children have a right to be safe and an opportunity to thrive, learn, and grow in an environment that fosters healthy development. And whereas child abuse and neglect can be prevented by supporting and strengthening Georgia's families, thus preventing the far-reaching effects of maltreatment and providing the opportunity for children to develop healthy, trusting family bonds and consequently building the foundations of communities. And whereas strong and nurturing communities where all children grow up safe, People have jobs and provide for those they love, and families receive the care they deserve, strengthen families, and promote child, family, and community well-being. And whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships created within communities, among citizens, human service agencies, schools, faith communities, healthcare providers, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business sector. And whereas by providing a safe, stable, and nurturing environment for our children, free of violence, abuse, and neglect, we can ensure that Georgia's children will grow to their full potential as the next generation of leaders, helping to secure the future of this state and nation. And with that, Governor Kemp proclaimed that April 2023 is Child Abuse Prevention Month in Georgia. Today we have with us Prevent Child Abuse Georgia, Division of Family and Children Services, and members of the Georgia Essentials for Childhood Initiative. And I just want to recognize them, thank them, and give them a round of applause for really devoting their lives to the children of the state of Georgia. If y'all would recognize them with me and give them a round of applause. Thank you. With that, I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. The senators yielded the well. The chair recognizes the senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to take a second. Some people have asked where these roses came from. I just want to thank all those advocates out there working on mental health reform that are providing these roses out in the halls to us. I know we're working this year on a little House Bill 520, and last year we had a big bill, House Bill 1013, that we all worked together on. I just want to thank all the advocates out there around the state that have worked so hard on all these issues, and thank them for their patience with us as we work through this bill this year as well. And I'm confident that come this time next week, we'll have another meaningful piece of legislation we're going to pass to help deal with mental health issues in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senators yielded the well. The chair recognizes the senator from the 7th.
Thank you. This morning, I rise to recognize and commend the Ismaili Council of the Southeastern United States and celebrate the festival of Nowruz, marking the beginning of the Persian New Year and the first day of spring. This festival is a season of rejuvenation, spiritual renewal, and a chance to reflect on our blessings. This is also a time to exude hope and optimism for the new year and reflect on Islam's core values: service, peace, compassion, and care for the vulnerable. Ismaili Muslims are a culturally diverse group of almost 15 million people worldwide, led by His Highness the Aga Khan, the Imam or spiritual leader. The Ismaili community, in partnership with the Aga Khan Development Network, has been active across the nation over the last 60 years. They have worked to alleviate poverty, improve living conditions, and create opportunities for people around the world and in Georgia through the fields of health, education, art, culture, rural development, and the promotion of private sector enterprise. Many organizations have directly benefited from the contributions and partnership of Ismaili Civic, including the American Red Cross, the Atlanta Community Food Bank, Hands on Atlanta, and Interfaith Atlanta. As you may have seen when coming to the chamber this morning, we are hosts to a Nowruz celebration, an exhibition of the Aga Khan Award for Architecture in the South Wing of the State Capitol. I invite you to stop by to visit with this incredible community. They'll be here till noon. And if the members could welcome them to the chamber, they're here today. Thank you so much. Thank you. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes the senator from the 8th, the distinguished senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to remind everyone that tonight from 5 to 8, the Georgia Legislative Sportsman's Caucus, we're having a range day. It's at Starters Range and Guns, and I hope everyone can join me and maybe help me burn a little bit of gunpowder. So hope to see y'all there. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. The senator has yielded the well. The chair recognizes the senator from the 21st for a brief presentation from the rostrum. Mic is hot. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here to recognize the best field goal kicker in the NFL for our Atlanta Falcons. Koo, can we say Koo? And he grew up and came to this country and started kicking in New Jersey in high school. Then he went to Georgia Southern. He's a graduate of Georgia Southern, where he was a third-team All-American. Then he went to the Chargers, and now he's been with the Falcons, and he's All-Pro. And I just want to quickly recognize him and thank him for all he does on and off the field. And I want to give him this resolution and give him just a minute to say hello to the Senate. Mr. Koo?
Football has brought me to so many different places. Continues to bless me with the places that I get to visit and the people that I get to meet on this journey. And I'm extremely grateful, and I'm forever grateful for this opportunity to be here. So thank you very much.
Let's get a picture with Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Today I rise to recognize and commend the National Council of Negro Women. This is a nonprofit organization with a mission to lead, advocate for, and empower women of African descent, their families, and communities. NCNW, as it is formerly known, fulfills this mission through research, advocacy, national and community-based services and programs in the United States and Africa via 32 national affiliate organizations that enlightens, inspires, and connects more than 2 million women and men. The state of Georgia, NCNW, has a rich history under the many years of leadership and guidance from the late Verdell Bellamy. And in 2016, Lois Keith had the foresight to reorganize the state of Georgia by empowering key leaders in DeKalb, Greater Atlanta, Rockdale Newton, Savannah, and Valdosta Lowndes sections to collectively organize a state conference in Atlanta on August 20, 2016. For the first time in NCNW Georgia history, the state committee elected State President Shara Denton, State Secretary Derrica Williams, and State Treasurer Myrtle Mayfield during the conference that the State Committee planned and implemented the Movers and Shakers Award, and its first recipient was Lois Keith. The state of Georgia provided support and assistance to families in Albany, hosted by Dr. Dorothy Height, Stamp Reveals, state leadership trainings, state conferences, Know Before You Vote forums, and GOTV phone banks. The coalition chartered additional sections throughout the state to now reflect 11 community and 14 collegiate sections. The state of Georgia, NCNW elected its second president, Dr. Darlene Ruffin Alexander, at the 2021 state conference with the focus of continually working toward the mission, values, and goals of the national conference and vision of the state coalition. Today, our national president is the one and only Dr. Lois Keith from DeKalb County. If you see the women around in black and purple today, please welcome them to their state capital, the National Council of Negro Women. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes the senator from the 28th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. Today I rise on two occasions. Number one, it's my middle child's 8th birthday today, and he is at this moment eating lunch with my beautiful bride, and so happy birthday to Archibald Walker Brass. And Mr. President, I also rise today to congratulate the Noonan-Coweta Chamber of Commerce. Today is actually their 75th anniversary. Again, 75 years old today. And just a couple little highlights. They were the National Chamber of the Year just a few years back. So in keeping in good faith here in the state of Georgia, we like national champions. Well, our chamber was a national champion, and just want to congratulate and thank their fearless leader, Candace Boothby, and then the many leaders from our community in Noonan and Coweta County that have served on that board. Our Representative Lynn Smith, my representative, she's a former chair of that board, and there are many others. So again, Noonan-Coweta Chamber, some of them may be in here, maybe not. I know they're over in the house, but wanted to congratulate them again and wish them a happy birthday and a happy anniversary on their 75th year. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 6th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to rise briefly to send my appreciation and give my love to the advocates who are in the hallways and at home who are advocating against SB 140. I appreciate those individuals, particularly the organizations that have helped organize them, like the Human Rights Campaign and Georgia Equality. I want to appreciate all of them for being here and using your voice and ensuring that your voices are heard at the Capitol. And I also want to appreciate my colleagues for going out and listening to those individuals here today and every day. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes now the senator from the 16th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. I'm here this morning to recognize the Association of Georgia's General Aviation Airports. I think we've got part of their leadership up in the gallery, if you'll give them a clap or a wave from that standpoint. They are responsible for helping us with our general airports. And we got them up there. You raise your hands? Yeah, okay, good. And general aviation pilot myself is the firsthand knowledge of how important the economic impact of general aviation airports are in Georgia. Our general aviation airports are the gateway to many local communities. CEOs don't arrive in Greyhound buses. Most of their members in this House have at least one general aviation airport in your district. But did you know that Georgia ranks 3rd in the nation for annual output from general aviation, 4th in the nation for jobs supported by general aviation, and 4th in the nation for general aviation's contribution to the GDP? We need to understand that our local airports make the world accessible to rural areas and to areas that don't reach our metropolitan area. And I want to thank them for their help in supporting our general aviation airports. And thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Does any other senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? The chair hears none. You have a consent calendar of privileged resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to the adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar? The chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. We have one more privileged resolution. I'll ask the secretary to please read the resolution. Thank you.
Senate Resolution 353 by Senator Harbin of the 16th and others, a resolution recognizing the Association of Georgia General Aviation Airports as an industry association for general aviation airports in the state of Georgia. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to the order of the resolution just read? The chair hears none. The resolution is adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? The chair hears none. You have a consent calendar of local bills before you. Mr. Secretary, are there any objections filed to any bill on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, no objections filed.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations, which is favorable to the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar? The chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. The question is on the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. Mr. Secretary, please unlock the machine. On the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar, the yeas are 46, the nays are 0, and the bills having received the requisite constitutional majority are therefore passed. Moving on to the rules calendar. HB 545. HB 545. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
House Bill 545 by Representative Cannon of the 172nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 8 of Title 2 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to agricultural commodity commissions generally so as to provide for an agricultural commodity commission for citrus fruits. The Committee of the Senate on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Goodman of the 8th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The chair recognizes the senator from the 11th, the distinguished senator, to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is HB 545, is creating the Agricultural Commodity Commission for citrus fruits. This is a fairly new industry in our state. In 2013, we had about 4,500 trees in our state, and today we have in excess of 500,000 citrus trees in our state. This is a voluntary commission. We have 13 of these already in existence in the state, so we're just adding to that. They're producer funded, and they provide research, marketing, and promotion funds for the citrus industry. And if there are no questions, Mr. President, I'll yield the wheel.
Senator, you do have a question. The chair recognizes a senator from the 24th.
Senator, will
Yes,
you
sir.
yield for a question?
Yes, sir.
Senator, would this be your first bill as a senator?
It would be my first House bill as a senator, yes, sir.
Could you tell us which county, all of them, what did you say, 540,000 trees?
500,000, yes.
500,000. Could you tell us which counties them trees are in?
I could not, Senator, but they're in most all of the South Georgia counties. The industry is moving out of Florida into the state of Georgia. The cooler the temperatures, the sweeter the citrus. So it makes Georgia a greater marketplace and a better, sweeter citrus fruit. So we're getting a lot of growth in that area.
Well, I appreciate you bringing this sweet bill.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Senator, you have further questions. There seems to be greater interest in your bill now. Chair recognizes a senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned something about South Georgia. Can you tell me where South Georgia begins and ends?
Oh. That is a good question. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to go with below Macon. Yep. Mr. President, I know we've got a lot to do today. I'm going to yield the well and appreciate everybody's support.
Senator. Oh, Senator. Oh, my goodness, Senator. All right. Don't have an answer for that one, guys. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Well, Chair recognizes the senator from the 6th.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 2nd.
So excused without objection. Very good. All right. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure presently on the board? The chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the previous question is ordered. Is there objection to the agreeing of the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea, and those opposed will vote nay. Mr. Secretary, please unlock the machine. For what purpose does the senator from the 33rd rise?
Mr. President, before we vote for this bill, shouldn't we verify that the senator knows that South Georgia begins and ends in South Georgia?
That is for each senator to determine, Senator. Thank you. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 47, the nays are 3. And this bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Moving on down the rules calendar, HB 493. Madam Secretary, please read the caption.
House Bill 493 by Representative Hatchett of the 155th and others, a bill to be filed an act to amend Code Section 4326-9 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to renewal, surrender, and restoration of registered professional nursing licenses and continuing competency requirements so as to revise a provision regarding verification of competency. The Committee of the Senate on Regulated Industries and Utilities recommends that this bill do pass, respectfully submitted by Senator Cowsert of the 46th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 20th to present the bill. My apology. The chair recognizes the senator from the 50th as a substitute presenter for the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Due to the absence of the senator from the 20th, I'm going to be presenting this bill. What this bill does is, in the healthcare community, nurses have to get a certain number of hours working in facilities. As the law stands right now, they are not allowed to get recognized hours if they work in the VA hospital. This just includes VA hospitals in the list of accepted licensed facilities. If you have any questions, I'm happy to yield.
Senator, it appears you have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll yield the well.
The senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? The chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the previous question is ordered. Is there objection to the agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. Is the objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is now on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. And Mr. Secretary, please unlock the machine. Thank you. I'm afraid to put it in my mouth. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0, and this bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Moving on down the rules calendar, the next is HB 414. Madam Secretary, please read the caption.
House Bill 414 by Representative Blackman of the 146th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 37 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to governing and regulation of mental health so as to provide for a grant program within the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities to provide behavioral health services to military service members, veterans, and their families. Committee of the Senate on Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security recommends that this bill do pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Dugan of the 30th District Chairman. Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security offers the following substitute to House Bill 414, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 4 of Title 38 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to the Department of Veterans Service so as to provide for a grant program to aid in the provision of behavioral health services to service members, veterans, and their families. Sarah Moore of the 53rd offers the following amendment, Amendment 1, to amend Senate Committee substitute to House Bill 414 by adding on line 53, if grant funds total 50% of nonprofits' total funding with any combination of federal, state, or local grants, nonprofits shall be subject to the Open Records Act, and relabeling Section E to F. That completes the order, Mr. President. Oh. Sarah Dugan of the 30th and Moore of the 53rd offer the following amendment, Amendment 1A, to amend Amendment 1 to House Bill 414 by striking if grant funds and replace with if taxpayer-funded grants. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The chair recognizes Senator from the 1st, distinguished Senator from the coast, to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here presenting House Bill 414. This is pretty straightforward. Came out of the Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security Committee. And if a grant is available, the Department of Veterans Services would have matching and competitive grants relating to nonprofit community and behavioral health programs. This stems from a community health behavior facility down in my district. It is adjacent to Fort Stewart, and it helps veterans and their families relating to mental health, and examples are PTSD, depression, anxiety, etc. It's been a success in our community, and they are looking to consider expanding it to the rest of the state, and that's basically what it does. Mr. President, I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any questions, and then I would like to address the amendment or follow up on that if there are no questions.
Senator, you have no questions.
Thank you. The amendment, I'm going to let the chairman of the Veterans, Military, Homeland Security speak to the amendment and to the amendment to the amendment. How about that? Thank you.
The senator has yielded the well. The chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd to speak to his amendment, which is Amendment Number 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. I submit Amendment 1 today as a simple amendment of transparency. There's no doubt in my mind that the proper role of government should be to support our veterans in every way we can. But if you Google mental health and veterans, you're going to see a whole list on the first page of nonprofits that are doing this. And if we're going to be dishing out the grant money, I just want to make sure that there's a level of transparency there. That's why I asked that if any combination of federal, state, or local tax dollars, as amended coming in 1A, that is subject to the Open Records Act. And with that, Mr. President, if there's no questions, I'll yield the well.
Senator, you have questions. The chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Senator. So my question is, this language that you've added, does it appear in other statutory schemes as it relates to taxpayer grant funding? What's your familiarity with?
It may. I'm not sure. I'm not aware. I just want to make sure that if it leaves this chamber, it's already been amended, right? This is just a substitute. It's already got to go back to the House anyway. Just want to make sure it's clear that they're going to be subject to open records, just so we can have an accountability of where the money's going if need be.
And if you'll further yield, I'm certainly not at all opposed to accountability. I think it's important. I was just curious, your level of knowledge. I mean, it would seem that this would need to theoretically be a fairly common change that we might want to make to other programs if such does not exist, which is why I was wondering what your base level of knowledge is about this type of language and this type of program.
I'm not sure about that, Senator. Yep.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
I'm supportive of the gentleman's policy. I guess the question is, as you're drafting this, and again, I know the gentleman from the 30th helped you rephrase some wording there. On line 6 of your amendment, shall be subject to the Open Records Act. I'm asking you, and maybe even parenthetically this body, instead of saying Open Records Act, would it be better to phrase that provisions of Article 4 of Chapter 18 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated? That is the Open Records article that deals with the whole framework. I don't know that Open Records Act is necessarily clean, but wanted to see if you might be friendly to an amendment that further specified the details.
Yeah, there's an open spot for 1B, Senator.
Thank you.
All right.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, Senator.
Is it not true that as a veteran, and to the question that's already been raised, is there any particular reason why veterans' mental health, you would prefer that it be subject to the Open Records Act?
Because that's how important it is. I mean, I have a family full of veterans. I remember growing up and not being allowed to shoot off fireworks with some of my dad's friends that were in Vietnam because of shell shock. So I understand the issue, and I want to make sure if our funds are going to that issue, that it's subject to transparency, right? So that we're doing the absolute best job that we can. The worst thing that could happen would be taxpayer-funded money going to something that wasn't benefiting what our legislative intention is.
Well, will the gentleman further yield?
Sure.
So is it not true that probably half of the state's funds go through that process and are not subject to open records?
Well, maybe that's something we should consider as a body.
I would be happy to work with you on that.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks.
Senator, you have no other questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
The senator has yielded the well. The chair recognizes the senator from the 30th to speak to his amendment, which is 1A.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I greatly appreciate the intent of the senator from the 53rd is doing here. This is not supposed to be intended to be an adversarial amendment to his amendment. It's designed to be cleanup. As y'all know, just from January through February of this year, we've had 3 National Guardsmen kill themselves, commit suicides because of mental health issues, because of multiple deployments. Anything we can do to strengthen their mental health care would be greatly appreciated across the state and used kind of as a model across the nation. Now, I just want to be clear, if this is federal dollars, state dollars, county dollars going in, then they should be accountable for them. There's a lot of grants that come in that have nothing to do with taxpayer funds. They should not be held under the same scrutiny, because if I'm entity X making a contribution to a cause that I believe in, then it's on me as entity X to do the audit to make sure that funding is done the way I had prescribed it be done. The tax dollars, we should hold them accountable. So that's all Amendment 1A does. Mr. President, if there's no questions, I will yield the well.
Senator, you have no questions.
Thank you. I yield the well.
We have another amendment that's been filed, Amendment 1B, as in Bravo. Madam Secretary, please read Amendment 1B.
Senator Setzler of the 37th and Tillery of the 19th offer the following Amendment 1B to amend Amendment 1 to House Bill 414 by deleting on line 6 of the amendment Open Records Act and replacing with the following provisions of Article 4 of Chapter 18 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the senator from the 37th to speak to his amendment, Amendment 1B.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, in the spirit of the gentleman's underlying Amendment 1 of open transparency, what Amendment 1B simply does is, rather than saying Open Records Act, it actually specifies the article within the code, Article 4, Chapter 18 of Title 50, which is the Open Records Act. That whole framework is packaged in a couple code sections, which is Article 4. That's all this amendment does. It just specifies exactly where that is and doesn't leave it open to the broad language of the Open Records Act. Glad to take questions.
Senator, you have no questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the amendments or the bill? Chair hears none. Chair recognizes the senator from the 1st. Would you like to close the debate? Senator waves. On the amendments, beginning with 1A, as in 1 alpha, is there objection? The chair hears none, and Amendment 1A is adopted. On Amendment 1B, as in Bravo, is there objection? Chair hears none. Amendment 1B, Bravo, is adopted. Now on the main amendment, Amendment 1. Is there objection to Amendment number 1? There is an objection. All those in favor of Amendment number 1 will vote yea. Those opposed to Amendment number 1 will vote nay. Mr. Secretary, please unlock the machine. On the adoption of Amendment number 1, the yeas are 37, the nays are 16, and the amendment is passed. The question is now on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute as amended? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is amended as adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is now on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. Mr. Secretary, please unlock the machine. For what purpose does the senator from the 14th rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, isn't that true that with that amendment, we made the entire nonprofit subject to the Open Records Act, even if it's just federal and local funding? They don't have to be state funded at all. And so now those nonprofits will be subject to exhaustive open records requirements, just like state agencies. Is that not true, Mr. President?
The senator is passionate of that which he speaks. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed.
All right, moving on the calendar. House Bill 373. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 373 by Representative Jones of the 60th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title I of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to holidays and observances so as to designate September 11th of each year as First Responders Day in Georgia. The Committee of the Senate on Rules recommends that this bill do pass, respectfully submitted by Senator Barrasso, the 28th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 35th to speak to the bill. Senator's going to speak from her chair. We're going to make an exception for the senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I stand for the firemen, police, EMTs, and all public safety personnel and our healthcare professionals by offering HB 373. It's a bipartisan piece of legislation, and it will just recognize invaluable service to our community that so many essential workers have presented since 9/11/2001. The first responders often put their lives on the line each day when we dial 911. Police and firemen have no guarantee when they answer a call if they will make it home safely or without injury. So our EMTs must be on call for 24 hours to help rescue Georgians experiencing a medical crisis. And of course, we know the pay for these responders does not equal the risk that they put on their lives when answering the 911 calls. So colleagues, I ask for your favorable decision on voting for remembering the sacrifice, patriotism, and humanity of so many who showed their humanity and their against the terrorists who really struck fear into the lives of all when they went into the Twin Towers 22 years ago. So, Mr. President, if there are no questions, I'd like to just ask my colleagues for their favorable vote on
Yes.
HB 373.
There are no questions, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. All those opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Moving on, House Bill 207. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 207 by Representative Rhodes is the 124th, and others, a bill to be adopted an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 52 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to general provisions relative to registration, operation, and sale of watercraft so as to provide for the carrying of night visual distress signals upon coastal waters of this state during certain hours. The Committee of the Senate on Natural Resources and the Environment recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted by Senator Anderson of the 24th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
I recognize the senator from the 24th, distinguished chairman of Natural Resources. I don't know how you got this House member tricked you into carrying this bill either, Senator.
It's hard. Thank you, Mr. President. This is a department bill for Commissioner Mark Williams. It just brings upgrades to lighting systems on all vessels that's on the coastal waterways of the state, that they have the proper lighting for at night. And also currently in the Georgia waters, fresh waters, if you have a boating accident and alcohol and drugs is involved, you have 48 hours to report it. This bill changes it to where it has to be reported right then. I ask you to vote green.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor, yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Finishing up with House Bill 35. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 35 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 52 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to Georgia Ports Authority so as to provide for powers of the authority to expand the arrest authority of officers of the Georgia Ports Authority in certain circumstances. The Committee of the Senate on Transportation recommends that this bill do pass by substitute respectively submitted by Senator Dolezal, the 27th District Chairman. Senate Committee on Transportation offers the following substitute to House Bill 35, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 52 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to Georgia Ports Authority so as to provide for powers of the authority to expand the arrest authority of officers of the Georgia Ports Authority in certain circumstances. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 1st to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 35 is about the Georgia Ports Authority police force. It has at present about 206 total post-certified policemen. At any one time, there are 30 to 40 on duty. As you can imagine, this is a very large facility. It includes Brunswick and the inland ports. All of the jurisdictions relating to the Georgia Ports Authority is in favor of this bill. And I'll give you an example of comparison. If the Georgia Ports Authority has 30 to 40 officers on duty at one time, the Port Wentworth, which is adjacent to the facility and responds most of the time, they have 3 to 5 officers on duty. They are in favor of this. Mostly it is a traffic issue at their gates. As you can imagine, they have hundreds of trucks in and out there, and at times there are accidents. This is what it does. Extends it to 1 mile outside the Georgia Ports Authority property in Chatham County and in Glenn County. There was an amendment that was added in committee that refines it to still remain on property on the inland ports throughout the state, and that's all it does. Mr. President, I'd ask for your favorable consideration. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor, yea. All those opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. The senator from, the pro tem has lunch for everybody in the anteroom here. So we got a few more things we're going to try to get done today, but the pro tem has been kind enough to provide everybody with lunch today. So at the appropriate time, the food will be waiting on you ladies and gentlemen in here. So I recognize the senator from the 17th for a motion.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that Senate Rule 3-1.2A be suspended so that a series of local bills can be read and assigned to committee.
The senator has moved. Secretary, read the caption. Is there objection to the motion? Without objection, Secretary, now read the caption. And it's about 6 bills in a row, just so everybody's on the same page. 6 bills in a row, and I'll assign them as they read them, each one of them. So,
Senate Bill 311 by Senator Strickland of the 17th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing homestead
state and local
exemptions.
government.
Senate Bill 312 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing an annual salary for the coroner of Rockdale County in lieu of a fee system of compensation.
State and local government.
Senate Bill 313 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating a magistrates court of Rockdale County approved March 13, 1978,
State
as
and local
amended.
government.
Senate Bill 316 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing an annual salary for the judge of the probate court of Rockdale County in lieu of the fee system of compensation approved March 4th,
State and
1969.
local government.
Senate Bill 317 by Senator Estevez of the 6th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to continue the existence of the Atlanta Independent School System under the management and control of the
State and
Atlanta.
local government.
That completes the order, Mr. President. Senate Bill 314 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the State Court of Rockdale County approved April 2nd, 1987, as amended, particularly by an act approved June 29th, 2020, so as to revise provisions relating to compensation of the judges of said court, to provide for related matters, to provide for an effective date, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
State and local government.
Senate Bill 315 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd, a bill to be entitled an act to provide for the supplementary compensation of the judges of the Juvenile Court of Rockdale County, to provide for an effective date, to provide for related
State
matters.
and local government.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and the rest of y'all. I move that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 104.
Senator has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 104 by Senator Rett of the 33rd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act changing the compensation of the clerk of the Superior Court, the sheriff, and the judge of the probate court of Cobb County.
House has offered the following amendment.
The House has offered the following amendment to Senate Bill 104, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act changing the compensation of the clerk of the Superior Court, the sheriff, and the judges of the probate court of Cobb County from the fee system to the salary system. That completes the order, Mr. President.
I recognize Senator from the 33rd to speak to the bill and the motion. Something as easy as it's a local bill and it's good for my district, be fine, Senator.
It's a local bill and it's good for the district, and I yield the well.
That is a smart man. That is why I call on the senator from the 33rd when he wants something special. So. All right, is there any objection? Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? If not, the Senate has agreed to the House's substitute. Oh. All those in favor will signify by saying aye, or excuse me, voting yay. All those opposed, vote nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54 and the nays are 0. This having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore motion is granted. Recognize the majority leader for a motion.
10-4. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Tuesday, March 21st.
Majority leader has moved. Secretary, read the announcements.
The Rules Committee meeting will happen upon adjournment in 450 of the Capitol. Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee meeting is canceled. The Transportation Committee meeting will happen at 1 p.m. in Mez 1 of the Capitol. The Government Oversight Committee meeting will happen at 2 p.m. in 307 CLOB. The Health and Human Service Committee meeting will happen at 2 p.m. in 450 of the Capitol. The Finance Committee meeting will happen at 3 p.m. in Mez 1 of the Capitol. The Appropriations Compensation Subcommittee meeting will happen at 4 p.m. in 450 of the Capitol. And the Judiciary Committee meeting will happen at 4 p.m. in 307 CLOB. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Thank you, Secretary. Would any other senator wish to give an announcement? All right. So the majority leader has moved. All those in favor of the majority leader's motion signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it. We're adjourned.